In this video, I will use a dot plot to describe the shape, center, and spread of a distribution. In this dot plot, the variable is age. You can see it here on the horizontal axis. And the individuals are 507 adults, so each dot represents an adult. We can see that the ages are not symmetrically distributed. When we move to the right into the older ages, there are fewer adults who are older. In other words, the distribution tapers off to the right. It is right skewed. Now we can also see that the youngest person is 18 and the oldest person looks like they're 67. Now subtracting the minimum age from the maximum age, we can determine that the ages have a span of 49 years. In other words, the distance between the lowest and the highest value is 49 years. Now let's talk for a moment about estimating the center of the distribution. In other words, our goal is to pick one age that we would use to represent the whole distribution. Would halfway between 18 and 67 be a good choice? Let's see, halfway would be 43. This would not be a good choice because there are so many more people who are younger than 43 compared to people who are older than 43. Now, another way to think about the center is to think of a pivot point on a seesaw. If the pivot was at 43, would the seesaw be balanced? And it would not be. It would be a lot heavier or lower on the left. Something like this. So for these reasons, 43 does not represent the distribution well. It is not a good way to represent the center. How about 24? I think that I went too low. There are quite a few people who are younger than 24, all of these people here. But when we look at the number of folks who are older than 24, that is a lot more people. In addition, if we think about 24 being a pivot point, I think now that the seesaw would have swung the other way, it would be much lower or heavier on the right. All right, so I'm going to choose something that's a little bigger than 24. I'm going to choose 28. Now 28 to me looks like it roughly divides the distribution in half. And I think, but I'm not sure, but I think it would be a pretty good balancing point. Now, I don't want you to worry if you're having trouble estimating the center of a distribution. In the next module, we will discuss precise ways to represent the center by finding the median and the mean. Now, since you are probably already familiar with medians and means, I'm going to add them to this distribution just as a preview of what's to come. And it will also allow me to check my estimate. So here's the median. And there it is at 27. And let's look at the mean. There it is at a little over 30. Now the median is what divides the data in half, and the mean is the balancing point. So I have been thinking sort of intuitively in ways that later we are going to think more precisely. But my estimate of 28 looks like a pretty decent estimate, and it's consistent with these more precise ways of measuring center that we'll focus on soon.